I think this rolls right into the next question. In your experience, what does it truly mean to support the whole child? We'll start there. Like, what does that mean? We say that a lot. You hear people talk about that. What does that mean?
Yeah, a
There you
child
go.
comes to you with all that they have from their community and their family. Their parents give them everything they've got. It is not up to us to decide which part of them that we like.
That's good. That's good.
It's just not, we have to accept them all. We
Yeah.
have to accept every part, every child, and every part of that child. So we could have a kid that smiles and say hello every day with F's and socially a little awkward, right?
Mhm.
It's up to us to embrace that child, all of those categories, to get them to the next level to be successful.
Yeah.
F's and all, awkward and all. And I think what we can't do is leave behind certain elements that is impacting the other side. So if a
Okay.
student has gone through traumatic experiences, we know about ACE scores and things of that nature. I've
Yes.
never done that before. I've never given a child a test to know anything about ACE, but I do know in the research know what it's about. But if we know a traumatic experience has happened with a child, why do we expect them to come in and sit quietly and learn?
Yeah.
That
Agreed.
doesn't make, and I'm not saying that they need to be running down up and down the hallways and screaming and yelling and hitting people. But I am saying that they may be quiet, they may be reserved, they may need some time and extra help, but we've got to find a way to help the personal side of that child so that the academic side can come
Yeah.
alongside it. And it may take some time, but that's when we are going to work with the family, bring the family in to help that child, to offer those outside resources if our school-based mental health team can't help them, but also get the teacher on board to understand the traumatic experience that happened with the child so that they can create instruction during small groups, put them in a different group so that we can catch the child up, not have
Yeah.
whole group instruction with a child that's failing who's been gone for 2 weeks because they had a traumatic experience. We can't just think kids are going to hit the ground running. So when I say whole child, understand experiences that will be brought to you by a school counselor or a school psychologist or your principal, right? That will
Right.
tell you, handle with care that we had a situation. And then that handle with care needs to be taken care of holistically,
Yeah.
which means intervention team meetings need to happen, which means we've got to call parents in. So that's what I mean by whole child. I'm not just looking for all the A's. I'm looking for great grades, of course, and success, but I'm
Right.
also wanting to see how they are socially. If they are, you know, doing things inappropriately on social media and causing harm
Mm.
to other students, I'm not worried about your straight A's.
Yeah.
I want you to be a decent human being when you walk out of the school. I want your parents to know that bullying is not allowed. And I don't care that you have the A's because we got to make you a whole person that's going to be successful in our community, in our world.
So how did you, two things, how did you, can you give some examples of how you did that at Goochland Middle School? And then also, how did you get staff on board with that? Because not everywhere do we as adults think the same way about kids and what kids should be able to do and what success looks like.
Everyone
Yeah.
knew who I was because of my introduction of my whole child philosophy. So they knew from the beginning that this is what I was going to do. And so every parent I spoke to about whatever situation was occurring, I asked those questions about everything. And it
Okay.
didn't have to be a threat assessment or a risk assessment that I had to sit in on. It was just, how is that child doing? Understanding the developmental stages of students in middle school is huge. Again, that's my psych background, my school counseling background. You have to
Gotcha.
know the students that you're working with. A
Mhm.
sixth grader is totally different than an eighth grader.
Yes.
Eighth grader is
Right.
totally different than a ninth grader. But that understanding of what the adolescent brain looks like or how it reacts and responds is something that was my responsibility to teach my staff. So I had my school psychologist. I worked with my school psychologist on this. They gave a session during our round robins at the beginning of the year. They gave a session during mental health month, during our faculty meetings. I had
Okay.
my school counselor to the right of me to make sure that we were working together so that when we had a return from suspension, it was an automatic. The student would sit in the front. will be retrieved by the school counselor. All I would do as a principal would say, it's good to see you. I'm so happy you're back. The school counselor is going to pick you up and you guys are going to do some goal setting. She'd come in and tell me after the meeting what the goal setting was. If there was something private that took place, I didn't know, conversation confidentiality. I let that stay with the school counselor unless it hurt others or themselves, right?
Yeah.
Mandated reporter work. But I had a system in place, and then that allowed me to go to sixth, seventh, eighth grade meetings or faculty meetings to talk about some things that was happening with that student, that maybe we need to look at instruction a little differently. So we talked instruction in those meetings, but I also had mental health in those meetings. So my school psych and social worker at times would be in those meetings, in those grade level meetings too, to kind of bring that whole child perspective.
Okay.
And I
What
had a
do
small
you?
team. I only had two counselors, and one administrator and a part-time psychologist, no social worker.
But what? So hearing you say that, knowing that you didn't have a, I won't say necessarily a big group of support. You just didn't have
Yeah,
a lot of different people. What is the energy that you bring? Because there's going to be principals who don't have a lot, and the first thing you're going to tell yourself is, "Well, I can't do that because I don't have." Like,
yeah,
what is the
yeah.
appropriate mindset to have?
Well, the appropriate mindset to have is that we are servant leaders and we're there to help our students. And
Yeah,
you do everything you can to help them. If that's going to your community service board in the county, okay, if you don't have a position, you do have resources that you can
yeah,
use in the county that can help you, that can provide wraparound supports. We have social work services. We have so many Department of Social Services, excuse me. We have so many services within arm's reach, regardless of the division you're in. If you don't have it within your district, your school district, your county should have something. And so, if not, we have mentors. I'm
yeah,
from a small town. My hometown is Amherst, Virginia,
yeah,
proud of Route 29, South 29, right? And I know for a fact that if I needed something, somebody would have helped me in my family. And if it
yeah,
wasn't in the school board office, then we would have county to come in to provide support. So there's no excuse, is what I'm saying. There's no excuse. But I think having those courageous conversations with teachers who, um, you see their DF report. Let's start there with grades. What's going on
yeah,
with the DF report? Looking beyond the grades to see if there's a pattern. Why is there a pattern? Well, then we have referrals. Well, why is there a referral? Let's talk about the referral. Well, why is the child doing this? And then peeling that onion to figure out what is happening with the child. I can't tell a teacher what to do, but I can ask them to help a child.